Hi everyone, this is my Mythic Harjatan guide. This fight was the second fight that we did in the Tomb of Sargeras, and honestly I think it was much easier than Goroth, um, which surprised me. I expected it to be harder than what it was. It took us slightly more than an hour and a half. I've never seen the fight before to get it down. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we did, especially from a tanking standpoint of how we killed it. Let's start with our talents. I recommend Abyssal Strike in tier 99 because this is a huge AoE fight and this is the superior AoE damage talent in this tier. I recommend Fallout because more souls equals more Spirit Bomb, especially in AoE. Flame Crash for the AoE with Abyssal Strike. Fracture for the soul generation and the damage. The Concentrated Sigils for the just straight up damage. It is slightly more damage than Quicked. And Sigil Chains isn't really needed because most ads can't be tanked anyway, only the Wave Benders. All the other ads, the Gladiators and the Sickly ones, cannot be tanked, so this is not needed. So Concentrated is what I'd recommend. 108 Spirit Bomb is mandatory. If you want to be efficient, Spirit Bomb is mandatory. And 110, this fight here for the damage output, we're looking at 90 over 90% physical damage, and because of that I would recommend Demonic Infusion to make sure you have as many charges and higher uptime of Demon Spikes. So think of this as the reverse Crosis, where you'll have a dot on you that does physical damage when you're off tanking instead of Crosis that was magic. Same concept. Sword Barrier could be used, but again, if you do take Sword Barrier, it's probably better to do it when you have 5 stacks of the dot, or like 3 stacks, let it come off cooldown again at 5 stacks. So Sword Barrier could be used. Recommend Demonic Infusion, and then last resort would be used if you cannot stay alive. Gear wise, I'd recommend the Dark Moon card, 100%, 90+% physical damage. Dark Moon card will carry you on mitigation. 2-piece is recommended for the 5% damage reduction. And for legendaries, I used Archimonde's Hatred Reborn and Oblivion's Embrace. Other legendaries that could be useful. Prideaz could have been used. It's a good defensive legendary. Good stats, good shield. It can be used efficiently. Cloak is not good in this fight. The belt would have been really good for offensive, and some leech when the ads first come out. So belt would be fun. The boost would be huge because you're always AoEing something down, so you can get the cooldown and fire rebrand, or get it off cooldown faster. So the boots are huge. And that's really it. Safus, by the way, you could get a lot of use because you can interrupt the wave menders, and you should interrupt the wave menders. So Safus would not be terrible. And actually, if you want to talk about damage, you could run with the Killjaden's Burning Wish is great for AoE, and it's a lot of AoE, so this would also be okay. So if we talked tier 1, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, tier 1 I would say is probably the boots and the pants and the trinket. Even though the shield isn't that big, it's good for single target damage, but it's also an amazing stat stick. So I would put the trinket in tier 1. Tier 2 I would put probably the Prideaz and Safus, and maybe the belt. Belt could be tier 1 if you're just looking to do damage. And then Killjaden is, of course, or Killjaden's Burning Wish is just for damage. Consumables, I use Agility Flask and Agility Food, and I used Prolonged Powers, but you can also use Old Wars, that both are good for damage. Prolonged Power gives you more defensive stats. And that's it. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the god. Alright, so here we are in Harjatan, if that's how you pronounce it. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. So this fight as a tank is actually kind of easy mechanic wise. In my opinion, this fight was a lot easier than Goroth. It took us about an hour to learn it and almost kill it, to about an hour and 40 to actually put him down. We had a 1% wipe, at 7 million, another 30 million HP wipe. Like, we were close so many times. Um, so the fight isn't bad. We just hit enrage timers because we were focusing on all the mechanics and do them perfectly, that we weren't maximizing DPS on the boss. So it's something to think about. So around the difference in Mythic here is everything's the same except for we have eggs now. And how this works is there's 3 different sets of Murlocs. There is sickly ones, there are colicky, I believe, and it was the dripping. So the sick ones come out in a group of 5 and they target people and fixate at them. The colicky ones would jump around and do giant AoE damage to wherever they land and throw tantrums. And the dripping will keep putting stacks of the frost debuff on people. So when he pulls it out of people, it can get bad. Ideally, if you have to pick, there's going to be 2 sets of eggs that are hatching at once. You have to pick between which one you want to kill, because you can't kill them both. So normally you want to kill the colicky first. They'll hatch in a stack of 1. Dripping second, also hatch in a stack of 1, and then the sickly hatch in a stack of 5. So if there's a colicky, you want to kill it, and if there is a dripping, you want to kill it. And you always want to just straight up kill the sicklies when they hatch. So on the pull, I'm going to do my normal fire brand rotation, and I'm going to just maximize my damage as much as I can. And I'm going to pull them to the middle of the room because there's 4 sets of eggs around the outside, so we want them in the middle. So we Bloodlust, and every time he hits me, or every other swing, he puts a stacking debuff on you that does ever-ticking physical damage. So you want to keep Demon Spikes up as much as possible. And once he gets to 100 energy, he's going to slam for physical damage anybody in front of him. So everybody just stands on the tank. That way, when he slams, is divided amongst the entire group, and it's not much damage. So here's a slam, right there, and then we keep going. The whole idea is you want to run the gladiators through the group if possible. That way they get passively cleaved down. However, once after like 8 seconds, they'll fixate somebody else. You just don't want them into the melee group when they fixate somebody else. The Wave Menders cast Watery Splash that needs to be interrupted. This is why Subfuse could be useful here. So you want to keep the Wave Menders in the group to keep them AoE down, and then you just range down the Gladiators while maximizing the damage on the boss. And at 5 stacks, because I just got 5 stacks, you tank switch. Now, I noticed that I take a lot of physical damage. This is Crosis 2.0, where you have a stacking debuff when you're the off tank that does a lot of damage. Except in this case, it's physical and not magic. So what I do is I get out of the group. When I have 5 stacks, I don't split the rage damage. Because I'm already taking a lot of damage, I don't need to take that on top of it. If everybody else is where they're supposed to be, you'll be fine. So I move out to the side, and I keep AoEing. Now watch this energy bar. Now, we saw our CSS hatching. The whole idea is we need to look around the room at this point, and there'll be 2 sets hatching. You want to find the one that has the colicky. If there isn't a colicky, you want to kill the dripping. Now, keep in mind, if you get both colicky and dripping, you have to pick one. I think one glows green and one glows red, and red is colicky. But if somebody calls something out, meaning that they say, hatching on nipple, or circle, or orange, whatever you want to call it, then you go there. But if you're halfway there and you find out that's a dripping and there's a colicky over a diamond, you don't have time to switch. Like, he's almost 100 energy right now. So by the time you get there, he's going to slam that egg. So he has to slam the egg to get rid of the armor buff on it, or you can't kill it. So if you start running this way and then try to turn and run this way, you're going to wipe the raid. So if you pick dripping instead of colicky on accident, you just have to deal with it. Like, you don't try to turn him around. You move, and then you just live with your decision. So you bring him over to the egg. I don't stack up because of my debuff. Right now, he just slammed the egg, which takes the armor off it, then all damage switches and kills the egg. The egg has to die before it's hatched, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, that's a bad camera angle. I'll show you in a second. At this point, we have time to move him. If we need to move him, we can, because any of the hatched Murlocs that gets near him gives him Berserk. That's a permanent buff that makes him do even more damage. Even with one stack of Berserk, it's probably a wipe. So the whole idea is these set of eggs here hatched, but if the ones right next to him also hatched, after you kill this egg, you just drag him away from the ones that are hatching, because you don't want Berserk. But in this situation, we don't have to. We just DPS him down, and once he starts this draw in, you cannot move him.
Beware.
And then he's going to get, right now you can see he has 3 stacks, so every time he melees, he's going to do a lot of damage to the raid. And this is going to go up and up as the fight goes on. So there's 1. And kill the ads, by the way. And once he's done, he does a Frosty Discharge, and then the fight restarts, except there's now puddles on the ground, and this is going to keep increasing over time. So what I'm going to do is move him back into the middle of the room, and when the Frosty Discharge is happening, nobody can be in the middle of the room. So at that point, you kill everything on the sides of the room. Now it's over. I bring him back to the middle, and the middle is empty, and it needs to be empty. So you just bring him back to the middle. He taunted at 4 because his debuff wore off. That's fine. Pick up the ads, AoE them down. There's the giant AoE. So right there you see this egg is hatching, and as soon as you see it hatching, you don't have much time. If you look at his energy, he's just past halfway. You gotta move ASAP. I also want to point out, if I can, I'm not going to try to rewind it, all the other eggs were hatching right to the left of him. So ideally what we want to do is break this egg and then move him.
4, beware. 2, 1.
Alright, so I'm going to taunt, and I want to move him away from these eggs, but people piled their the water stuff over here, so it's not possible to move him unless I take the long way around, which we don't want to be in the middle of the room. So I tell people to maximize damage on these sickly ads because we can't move. So yeah, I get ready and I try to move him, then I see that I can't, so I don't try. So he does his draw in and he won't move. You just maximize damage on him as all the range and maybe 1 or 2 melee kills all the other ads, the sickly ads. You want to kite around the outside of the room if he drops puddles at your feet, because this is a DPS race. If you're not super geared, you need to kill him.
Beware.
Alright, so it's over. We pull him back to the middle of the room. And the fight repeats again. Now, he only does 4 draw-ins before he enrages. It's like 6.5 minutes.
2, 1.
Alright, my debuff fell off, so I taunted. I'm looking for the eggs. Right there, I see that there's a bunch of eggs, the sickly ads, and then the other egg is here. And you notice all these puddles? They should not be there. But I'm going to jump over and stand in between. Try not to stand in the puddles. Nobody wants to be in the puddles.
Beware.
And the giant AoE has a long range to it, so this is fine. So it was hit, so we break it. And then I should be moving over here. Yeah, I want to move him away from these sickly ads before they hatch. I could have moved him farther, I didn't, but yeah, get the idea. DPS the water wave menders down, interrupt them as much as you can. Arcane Torrent does not work on the wave menders, and neither does the Sigil of Silence. You have to use your single target interrupt to interrupt them. This one's rough because he had like 13 stacks. We just lost somebody to it. And the more debuffs you have, the more damage you take as he's doing it. So it's imperative not to get that debuff high. Alright, so we're down 2 people. Not ideal. We have 1 better res in 5 seconds, so we get up one of them. Now this last 25% is crucial because if he does the next draw-in about 15 seconds after that, he's going to enrage and just straight up kill everybody. So now we're just trying to burn him down. Second potions and everything.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna get out of the way because I have 5 stacks of debuff. I don't want to die. And we're looking for the egg. You have to kill this egg. Even though we're at the burn phase, we have to burn him or we're all dead. If that egg gets off, it's going to be right next to the boss. And the boss is going to get berserked. And it's going to keep getting more and more berserked and everybody's just going to die. So you still have to kill the 1 egg. So we go over to do that.
4, 2,
There it is. We focus the egg down and then we straight up focus the boss and ignore everything else because he's going to enrage. Alright, so debuff wore off, so I'm going to taunt and use Fiery Brand, do my Fiery Demise rotation. Dodging the puddles. He has about 15 seconds until he enrages and kills everybody. And then we just burn him. He still has 10 stacks of this Frosty buff, so you can't outlive it. He's going to enrage before that, and that's that. So the whole idea is about making sure you get to the eggs and you shatter on the eggs and kill the eggs. Make sure you do proper positioning by dropping puddles on the outside. Even during frigid blows, you drop the puddles on the outside and then move them back to the middle once he's done. And switch at 5 and just don't die, you'll be fine. Like I said, like 90% of all the damage in this fight is physical, so make sure you have Demon Spikes up. You should use Demonic Infusion for this, and it's not bad. So I hope the video helped you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you liked the video, please like or subscribe. Thank you for watching.